So is there still shooting in the area? Is it safe for you to run up and grab that patient? Is the guy standing over them, who just stabbed them? Stuff like that, right? That's the sort of danger you got to worry about. Are they in the middle of the road and a van is going to crash into you?
Are you
Sort of
safely
thing,
on
right?
the sidewalk, but a van still almost crashed into you? I don't know if you saw it, but that almost just happened.
Oh, I saw the reflection.
Okay, all right. Oh, yeah. Trust me. I hate people.
So that's extremely important because if you then get hurt, you've just doubled the number of patients. And you can't even help that person now. So that's always important to ensure your safety before you go in there. Now, this could also be things like murder kitties, right? If there's a murder kitty right in the area, think about that and worry about your safety and the patient's safety. It could also mean like if you ever played the Hitman games, a puddle of water and an open socket. Focus on looking for your dangers, all right?
Got it.
Then we look at response. So response isn't just, hey, are you okay? What happened? It's not just the verbal response. That is one of the points that we do. But we also talk about touch, and we talk about their motor ability. So if you want to lay down here for Jules for a second.
Oh, just
if you were insane. Yeah, go ahead and lay down. All right, so if we came upon you here, your response could be very different. It could be you aren't listening to me. You're making sounds and stuff, still conscious, but I'm like, hey, are you okay? And you're not responding to me. We kind of get an idea, okay, he's conscious, but he's not fully there. And there's something that's impeding his response. You can also do, if they're not verbally responding to you, if I'm asking questions, he's not responding, you can do what's called a sternum check. So Rhodes, if you take your knuckles and your hand and you roll them along his sternum, it's going to elicit a pain response.
There we go.
Okay.
Ooh. Yep. It's
a non.
Yeah, exactly. It's a non long-term issue. Essentially, you're just rolling a little bit on the nerves, and he might seem unconscious, but after you do that, maybe he'll respond, and that gives you an idea of his state of consciousness, right? And that's really important stuff for you to pass over to us. So if for whatever reason he's in and out of consciousness, that can help us determine and make treatment plans. Go ahead, Jules.
Got it.
Got a question. Can you also ask them to maybe like squeeze your hand or your finger or something?
Yep, it's a motor response. Yep, that's perfect. So yeah, that's response. And the reason why we want to know their level of response not only allows us to do proper treatments, but it also lets you know that if this patient's going to be able to cooperate and tell you exactly what happened, because you can save a lot of time if you just ask them what happened instead of trying to figure out based on the injuries.
Got it.
So that's important to consider there. So that's response. Now we talk about circulation. Circulation is anything to do with the circulatory system. If they're bleeding, this is an issue. But this could also mean you checking their pulse. The first thing you always want to do is stop large-scale hemorrhaging. So if they're bleeding from a gunshot wound, a stab wound, whatever reason, stopping that first is going to be more important than you checking their pulse. The reason for that is that pulse will quickly change if the blood is leaving their body, quite obviously, right?
And so it becomes irrelevant if they got a pulse originally, because if they keep bleeding at that rate, they're gone.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So you're going to look for major bleeding, and this is where you're going to start doing treatments. Now, I'll go into detail about what that treatment is, but that's what you're going to be looking at is stopping that and then taking that time to do a pulse check if you really need to, all right?
Gotcha.
Because that pulse check will be crucial for determining if you need to perform CPR. So that's important. That's circulatory. And the reason circulatory is before anything to do with the airways or breathing is because if you don't have blood pumping, that oxygen's not getting anywhere. The way oxygen gets through your body is via the lungs, which are then transfusing that oxygen into your bloodstream. So if you don't have blood circulatory out, your blood circulating, there's no point in trying to fix the breathing.
You gonna die.
Got it. I didn't realize there was a medical order of operations here. This the medical PEMDAS.
PEMDAS, yeah, it's literally called PEMDAS. It's very important though, because people can survive about 3 minutes without oxygen, but without blood, you start getting brain death really quickly. So, yeah. All right. So then we talk about airway. So the reason we talk about airway before breathing is because if they're breathing but their airway's clogged, yeah. So things we typically find in their airways are going to be blood, vomit, water.
Vomit.
Now, yeah, if someone's having an allergic reaction, they can quickly vomit and to try to get rid of it. So the very quick way to do this is you can check their airways, tilting their head back just slightly here, and then opening their mouth, and you can check their airways that way. You can... oh, nope, don't look to the right. Look straight up.
Oh, okay.
And then tilt the chin there. You can put your hand above their mouth to see if any is coming out, or you can just visually look. Now, is that Paul? What is watching me for? What is he? Why is he here? What? You okay? What happened? What? Why?
What happened?
Oh, okay. Do you want to take my cab while I'm doing first aid training?
No. I can make it down to the hospital. I'm good.
Okay. Bye, Paul.
Bye.
That's concerning. So, that a quick way to remove anything in their airways to put them in what's known as the recovery position, which is a 3/4 supine. So I will demonstrate that here.
3/4
3/4
WWE. That's what I'm talking about.
Very much like this, but tilted a little bit forward. All right.
Okay, got it.
And the reason for that is that promotes their natural body's response to expelling whatever in their airway. All right.
Okay.
Now, the only time you're not going to do this is if there's any possibility of a spinal injury. So blunt force trauma, car accidents, large-scale falling, you don't want to try to do that, okay?
Can you repeat those scenarios?
Yeah.
Yep. Large-scale blunt force trauma, so anything that hits the back of their neck or that hits their back, they fell on their back, a car accident, because you never know what's going to happen in that case. You never want to move their spine or rotate it in a way that could possibly cause permanent injury.
Damage, yeah.
Okay.
Got it. Okay.
So in this case, you would be rotating their spine, and that would be more dangerous. But GSWs, allergic reactions, that's fine. Just don't do it if they have any sort of issue there. Now, what that means... Yep, go ahead.
What do you do in the case then if they do have if they got blunt force trauma to the neck or spine or whatever?
So what I used to have in my first aid kit was a straw, but it doesn't appear that you guys have one. So that would be helpful. But you might have to cup it out with your mouth or your fingers. You might have to
my fingers?
Use it, yeah, or put a straw in your kit.
You put gloves
that
on.
Can help with it. Yeah. You should always be putting gloves on anyways and a mask if you have one. Oh, PD Cruiser. I wonder who's doing that. Alrighty. So that's. Yep. Now let's talk about breathing. So breathing, we're not just wondering yes or no. We're arguing about regularity. We're worrying about is it clear, strong, shallow, weak. This helps determine if we're going to need to do CPR. All right. This also means you might have to roll them into the recovery position as well to help expel whatever might be in their lungs. You guys aren't going to be carrying around stethoscopes, but you can watch his chest. If his chest is rising and falling in a weird manner, that tells you it's irregular. If it's very slow, it tells you it's weak. So these are just things to kind of watch out for, all right? And that, again, all of this information, it's good for you to note down so you can tell us and we can prep that sort of thing, all right?
Got it.
Okay, gotcha.
I'm be real. I feel useless oftentimes because I look at the and I don't I understand like the basics of the basics, you know, like stuff a wound or something, put a bandage to stop bleeding, but beyond that, like, I'm scared. I don't want to mess someone up.
Well, it's hard to mess someone up unless there's like a spinal injury. You know, you're better off trying to help them than not.
I'll be real. I don't know if we got a good Samaritan clause.
It's a good show.
And I don't want to find out. I don't want to be the one.
Yeah, it's fair. But okay, so to roll someone to the recovery position, the easiest way is to take the arm nearest to you at a right angle, and then put the back of the further hand next to the cheek closest to you and hold it there. You're then going to bend their far knee and grasp their far leg to then roll them onto the 47. Roll them onto the 47? That's what's written here. Roll them onto the side.
I'm going to need those instructions. Take their nearest arm.
Here, Paul. I'll show on Paul.
All right.
Paul, you mind laying down for me? So I can show him how the recovery position works. Oh, well, okay. Can you lay on, can you lay flat? And then I'll show them how to get into this position.
By the way, just before, which channel are you guys on?
I'm not on a channel. I can be
my
on channel
radio's
1.
off.
We're all 10-7.
Okay. Just so you are aware, I believe Prit is towing a police cruiser.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, they're on it. Forte's on it.
Yeah. So go ahead and lay on your back, Paul, and then
Just thinking about how you want me to lay down.
Yeah, you want to, maybe
just lay on your
passed
back.
out.
Like the number.
Passed out. Maybe twice or so.
Perfect. There we go.
All right.
All right. So I'm going to take this arm, and then I am going to hold that at a right angle. This arm right here. And then I'm going to take this arm. I'm going to bring this up to his face.
Yeah.
I'm going to hold that there. My left hand here.
Okay.
And then I'm going to take this far leg, and then I'm going to roll him towards me. All right. So I'm going to do that.
Okay.
All kind of in one. All right. 3, 2, 1, and then roll him towards me and put him in the recovery position.
Perfectly into the recovery position. This is phenomenal.
Perfectly.
I know the recovery position now.
Heck yeah.
What do you do with the legs?
Well, you
roll
take the
them-
far one and you roll it towards you.
Okay.
Here, let me.
This is good practice, George. When I get hit by a local. This is,
You
like where this
you
is
literally
Well, if you
got
get hit by a
trampled.
local, if you get hit by a local in terms of run by a car, why wouldn't you put him in this position?
because of possible spinal damage.
Correct. So this would be for.
Also, more context. If we're looking at the medical, Dr. Cab, all right, there was danger and the people could have returned and they had guns. That's why I took him away.
Mm-hmm. All right,
Oh
so
my
take a
God.
look here. This is an example of the recovery position, just so you get an example.
Got it.
All right.
I'm gonna go refuel. I'll be right back.
No worries.
Damn, do I sleep in the recovery position? The fuck?
I probably do too.
Oh, that looks peaceful as hell.
Yeah, I can see why people recover in this position. The sleep
Alrighty,
recovery.
let's talk about. Maybe it just helps you breathe best there.
Okay, sorry,
let's
I
talk
don't
about
mean to
CPR.
derail.
No, you're good. You're good. Just making sure we get through stuff without taking up too much time. So CPR stands for cardiopulmonary resuscitation. Don't need to worry about that. Basically, you're just worrying about their heart and lungs, making sure that they're getting back into normal. Okay? Yep. Exactly. So, do you guys know when you would perform CPR?
When somebody is not breathing, or has no pulse, or both. Probably both.
Or both. Yep. with no breathing, you can just do the breaths of the recovery position. You don't have to do the compressions as well.
Wait, repeat that.
If someone's not breathing but they have a fine pulse, you don't need to worry about the compressions. You can just do the breathing side of it.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Just blow into their mouth.
Got it.
And make sure the whole we'll go through that part in a second. But
Got it.
it's also possible if their pulse seems like it's failing, it's falling, or their breathing feels like it's falling as well. You don't have to wait until it stops.
I see.
Because you already know it's going to go that way. You're better off trying to save them beforehand. All right.
Got it.
Okay. So you're gonna take your hands. You're gonna overlap them. You're gonna take whatever hand you prefer in terms and have it flat on the bottom, and then put your hand. So take whatever hand that you prefer you have your most strength in. So if you're left or right-handed, and then you take your other hand, you overlap it, and you interlace your fingers. All right.
Okay.
And then you're gonna use the I guess like the heel, I guess whatever that's called, your hand, whatever the heel of your hand is. I don't know what you'd call that.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Like the palm?
It's like the bottom of your palm.
Well, it's like,
it's
like the bottom of your palm.
Like the base of your hand. If you're looking at your hand, where your wrist and like hand meet, right above that, like that portion. Okay.
Yep. And then you're going to. So the position that you're going to put it on is essentially where your armpit, like that level, that height on your body.
Okay.
In the center. So in line with the armpits, that is your target location. All right.
And just centered chest.
In the center of the chest.
Armpit height, center chest.
Yep.
Sir, we got a call for 1090 at Maze Bank.
We busy. We 10-7. That means we can't respond. If we was 10-6, we could.
You've got the position perfect there. I'll get a CPR dummy here.
There we go.
My hip's too wide. I'm going around.
Do 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 do.
It's hard work, man.
It is. I never realized it was supposed to be like armpit level center chest.
Yeah.
I thought you was going for their heart.
Yeah.
I thought it was. Odessa, I always thought you was going for the heart when you was doing CPR.
It's the heart is basically about there, but the heart's a little bit over to the side. It's just so you're not hurting them essentially and breaking any ribs.
Got it.
And it's an easier sort of bending position.
Instead of trying to assume where their heart is, you can have a consistent. You're mostly there, and you don't have to worry about it, and then get it completely wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're also engaging the lungs as well.
The purpose of the pumping too is to get the blood flowing, right?
Mm-hmm. You're trying to get their heart. So the heart works by like a pump.
We're trying to jumpstart it.
Yeah, you're bringing in the blood, and then it pumps it out. This is also how oxygen gets to it. It uses the. I'm not going to go into the details there, but basically, you're doing two things at once. But yeah, like Rhodes said, you are jump starting it. The heart works the electrical signals, and you can essentially restart it by kind of getting it going. It's like a crank, right?
Like
or
manually
you're
starting
like
like a manual car by getting it to roll.
Yeah, popping the clutch. Got you.
Mm-hmm.
All
right, so go ahead and practice on here. See if you can get the position.
All right.
What you're going to do is you're going to do 30 compressions and 2 breaths. So these are at about 100 to 120 compressions per second. We like to suggest kind of listening to a song in your head. Staying Alive by the Bee Gees is like the one. But also Dancing Queen, Eye of the Tiger, Pocket Full of Sunshine.
Dancing Queen. Oh, you're speaking my language. Okay.
Girls Just Want to Have Fun, City Looper, Achy Breaky Heart, Just Dance, Hips Don't Lie, Thriller, Smells Like Teen Spirit, and TikTok.
All right, I think I'm doing it.
Now, obviously, on feminine presenting patients, this is right about where our chests might be. But, you're trying to save their life. Just try to be respectful about it. You know, this isn't the time for you to, you know, you know what I mean? Like, you're going between their chests there. You're not likely going to hit anything, but it's just a respect thing, all right? Make sure you're being kind with your fingers and keep the fingers pointed upwards. So, all right. So you do that 30 times at that rate that you're doing perfect. And then what you're going to do, you're going to take their head here. You're going to tilt it back just like I tilted back Jules' head earlier to check his airway. You're going to open up his mouth.
And suck the life out of him.
If you want, you can have a like a mask that goes over and that protects you from sort of, you know, fluid-based illnesses.
Wouldn't that restrict
or you can
the
use
air?
your hand, but make sure you create a seal with your hand. All right.
Got it. Okay.
And then you provide 2. You're going to take a deep breath and then provide it all the way. You want to make sure that their chest is rising when you do that, because that'll ensure that the air is getting to their lungs and filling
Whoa. Okay.
it. Mm-hmm.
There we are. Okay. So we tilt their head back. We sort of create a seal, and then we blow into their mouth, and then our entire goal is to ensure that their chest is rising to make sure that that air isn't going anywhere but where it's supposed to.
Yep. After you've done you are going to then recheck their pulse and breathing. Okay, so every round, that's a round of CPR. It's important that medics should be on their way immediately before you're doing CPR. But that's pretty obvious. We're all on the radio. We understand what's happening. If as long as you 311 or tell us, you know, we can make sure I'm not. Yeah, what's up?
What rhythm do their pulse have to be like at a safe range for us to know that it's okay? Like everything we did is like fine.
So technically, anything under 60 beats per minute is a concern.
I got counted for a minute. Wow.
No, you that's technically what it's meant to be. My pulse usually sits around 60, so if you want to feel what that feels like, just go ahead and on my wrist there. You can. I've got a really low heart rate, so that's roughly about 60.
Okay.
I think it's a little bit higher right now because I'm
okay,
probably about 70 at the moment. But yeah, it just gives you an idea. Technically, anything under 60 is what could cause a concern. But if you get it going again and it's more than 10, 15, and it's stable, that's enough until we get there.
Got it. Okay.
Understood.
All right. Like I said, after that round, you're going to make sure you check their pulse, check their breathing, and then continue if you have to. Okay.
Got it. Okay.
And always feel free to ask for help on the radio. It might be inactive, so you might need a 311. But if it's kind of like you guys are just waiting a few minutes, feel free to ask, like, "Hey, this is what's happening. What do you advise?" We're happy to guide you. All right.
Sounds good.
Now, you're going to use your entire body weight when you're performing those compressions. You're not just going to use your arms. You're going to put your whole body into it. If you feel or hear cracking ribs, that's okay.
What?
It's in
Cracked ribs is less severe than dying.
Mm-hmm.
What if those ribs puncture a lung?
The way it cracks is likely not going to, and that's
Okay,
part of the
so
reason why we are pushing in the center instead of that side. All right. And you're likely not going to shatter the rib cage entirely. You might just bruise it or cause like a small fracture. It takes a lot to break a rib cage. All right.
Got it.
All right. So let's talk about open wounds. These could be stabbings or GSWs. You mentioned earlier, a tourniquet. This is why the IFAC has a tourniquet in it. If someone's been shot in the arm and they're losing a lot of blood, typically, I rarely use a tourniquet, but that's just because I have all the equipment I need. But for people out in the field like you guys, you're more likely to use it, all right? So if that bleeding's very rapid, if that pulse is decreasing really quickly, it might be time for a tourniquet, all right? So let's say a tourniquet happened right above my elbow, right? So my upper arm right above my elbow. Where would you be placing that tourniquet?
Wait, is your injury like along your elbow?
I've been shot like right along my elbow.
You would place it above along your arm because that's where the blood's going to be coming from.
Yeah, probably right under your shoulder.
Yep. Above, always above. All right. So the kind of tourniquets you guys have are like they have like a little crank essentially. So So you wrap it around and then you pull it tight, and then you'll use it has a freaking name and I can't think of what it is right now. But that's when you turn it and it'll adjust that tightness. Now, you don't want it to be too tight. You just want it until that bleeding stops, okay? But you don't want to compress any sort of flash too much, all right?
Got it.
So you're going to put it there. You're going to crank it a few times until it feels tight. That bleeding should stop because you're essentially kinking the hose. And then you're good to stop doing that. You write the time that you put that tourniquet on. That's for us to know how long that's been on to ensure that there's no cellular death from that part down.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Because that entire part of their body is not going to be getting blood or oxygen now.
Got it. That makes sense.
And that's something that's really crucial for us to know, because we don't have to then chop their arm off, trying to save their life.
So that's why is important.
Mm-hmm. And that's also why you're not going to use a tourniquet unless you feel like you really have to. And like I said, with those moments is if it's a lot of bleeding, if it's like pressuring out, that means an artery's been hit, definitely use a tourniquet. So if it's like splurting out, the reason for that is the veins in your body, you have arteries and you have veins. One is going back to the heart, the veins, and the other one's going from the heart, which is the artery. And the reason that artery pumps so much, it's like if I had a sprinkler, like a smart sprinkler or something, and it requests as much water as it needs. If for whatever reason that sprinkler isn't getting water, it's going to repeatedly request more and more and more and more and water, which then is going to send more and more and more and more water. Yeah. So we want to kink that to stop that from happening. But yeah, so that's a tourniquet, and like I said, yours you're going to have the crank on it. You know what? I'm going to get you the proper name.
I've seen it before. It's like a little black thingy. You kind of push it through the hole, and then you can twist it. And you twist it to the right to tighten. You gotta tighten it. It used to be super fucking tight.
Oh, the windlass. That's what it is. It's a windlass. I knew it had a specific name. That's what it's called. And then on those, there's a quick release buckle for us, or for whatever reason, if you start noticing their hands are getting like really, really pale, you can release it. But hopefully it won't get to that point. Hopefully we'll be there on time, right? So, but yeah. Always remember that timestamp. That's extremely important, all right?
Got it.
So any questions about tourniquets?
Nope.
Okay. So let's talk about packing wounds and bandaging.
Well, one sec. I got a quick question. Okay, so say for example, individual is a little bit on the thicker side. You have thick thighs, a gym buddy, whatever. How big is the tourniquet? Can it wrap a thigh and I still, use
the majority of them should be big enough.
Should be big enough. Okay.
Yeah, because
if they're adjustable, I would imagine there's no reason for them not to be on the much larger side to accommodate, because at the end of the day, right, your entire goal is to just, again, sort of like kink the hose, right? You want to stop the blood. So I can't imagine it would cost much money for these companies to just make them all big.
Okay.
Yep, they're pretty big, and the majority of them will work for the majority of people. You're only using these on limbs, by the way. You're not using them on their head. You're not going to use them on their waist. It's literally just for arms and legs. Okay?
Got it.
And it should always be immediately over that wound. If it's too high up, you run risk of damaging more than you need to. So it should be right above that wound, okay?
Got it.
All right. So if they have chest wounds or smaller wounds that aren't too bad, say from a gunshot wound, never ever ever take that bullet out. Okay, you're gonna leave that in. The reason for that is that bullet could be stopping any sort of like a hole in their artery, right? You might pull that bullet out, and whatever was stopping that artery from leaking blood is now going to be leaking blood. It's the same thing with an impalement. If for whatever reason someone's has something impaled in them, do never remove it, okay?
I was taught that as
Does
a
that make sense?
child. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if
same.
you
So
you somehow fall on a knife, it's gonna hurt, but
leave it in.
leave it in because it's
heard
holding
a
some
lot of
pressure there. As messed
yeah,
up as
it's
that
like
sounds.
if I have a hose and I put a needle in the hose, when I pull that out, it's going to be an issue. But if I leave it in, you're going to be stopping a lot of issues there. All right.
I've seen that example with a balloon and a needle.
Yep.
The air ain't coming out with the needle in there, but the moment you take the needle out, that air is flying out.
Alrighty. And then let's talk about so with gauze and such, we have these gauze in there. You're gonna take those gauze. You're gonna push them into the wound until it's packed. Essentially, the reason this will help absorb blood, keep it there. And then you take one of those bandages that we have, typically the compression bandages, because the reason for that is it will hold pressure. Right. So if they've got a GSW, take the gauze, stuff it into the wound, and then put one of those compression bandages over. All right.
Perfect. Got it.
If for whatever reason you are unable to do that or you run out of bandages, holding pressure with gauze is perfect. Okay. You just need to be pushing that pressure down. Again, the reasoning is you're trying to keep the blood in there. You're trying to keep it from going everywhere. Holding that pressure will then essentially ensure that there's no pressure difference, which then causes the blood to come out. All right.
Makes sense.
All right. Let's talk about head injuries. If for whatever reason, someone gets an injury, do not worry if they're bleeding a lot. Head wounds bleed a lot. It's just because how the veins are in the head are very close. It's typical for these ones. Even like that's why nosebleeds are so bad. You feel like you're losing so much blood. It's not that big of a deal. I mean, it is a big deal, but it's not like it's a bad thing. It's common. Okay. Apply pressure with those gauze. Put a pressure bandage on if you have to. But just it's important to remain calm in those situations. All right.
Got it.
All right. Let's talk about blunt force trauma, whether this is to the head or to the spine. You're going to keep them comfortable in a soft position, out of danger. Now, you guys don't have C-collars, so it's important to keep their... if you are going to move them, it's important to keep their head still. An easy way to move someone who's been in those situations is taking either side of their shirt on their shoulder and then dragging them using their shirt. So long as you keep that head, but that'll help move it and move the body without the head going back and forth, if that makes sense. All right. So hands on either side of their head and then grabbing their shirt, and then you can drag them on their back. It's not going to feel good, but it gets them out of the way of traffic if you really have to move it. Okay.
Got
Alrighty.
it.
Then we're gonna talk about concussions and stuff. You can shine a light in them, see if the pupils respond to it. How conscious are they? These aren't super important things for us to know right away, but it's the sort of thing that like you can check while they're there. All right, how coherent they are, check their eyes, all that stuff. All right.
So at this point, do we sort of like refer back to the typical like Dr. Cab bit?
If you want, yeah, and that's important. With this, it's just keeping their head stable and making sure that you're not moving that spine, and just wait for us to get there. All right.
Got it. Okay.
It's always safe to put their head into a neutral position. A neutral position is very similar to that position I was putting Jules' head. Yeah, that's a neutral position. It's always safe to put them there, but it's important to note that you're not turning it or anything like that. Okay.
Got it.
Alrighty. Broken limbs. If it's bleeding, treat it the same norm. Apply gauze. Apply pressure. Don't push too much because it can cause injury to the broke. So if you have a suspicion that it's broken, try not to do too much. All right. If there is a bone sticking out, this is known as a compound fracture. Do not touch it because you can actually cause infection. Leave it. Do not move the limb. Kind of keep that in place. Make sure the person's not moving it too much. You can hold it for them if it's a big deal, or if it's too much. All right. Keep it supported in a way, so that way it doesn't get further injured, and try to keep them as calm as possible. That way you're not rushing the issue of them having an issue, all right?
Yep.
Common reactions to a broken limb is going to be passing out, vomiting, and shock. So that's important to know, to be look out for. A common way to treat shock, especially as first aid, is to not only do this if like the broken limbs are like their arm or in their chest. You can raise their legs up and put like a bag under them. That helps return the blood back down to their body, or wrapping them in like an emergency blanket and keeping them warm. All right. Shock is pretty easy to notice. They'll stop. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. What does shock look like, and what causes people to go into, like, what happens when they go into shock? Like,
so shock is a decrease in blood pressure, like a rapid decrease in blood pressure. So various different things can cause shock. Allergic reactions, hemorrhaging, anxiety disorders. There's a lot of different things that can cause such a decrease in blood pressure. It means that the organs of the body are no longer getting the blood and nutrients that it needs. So the whole body starts shutting down. Now, this can lead to further issues, like a lack of circulation in the brain, for example, can then cause a stroke, right? So it's important that we're dealing with this as soon as possible. They'll typically go pale. They'll be kind of in and out. They'll be kind of non-responsive. So keeping them warm, wrapping them with a blanket, and raising their legs up will help any blood that's pooling in their legs go back down towards their heart, all right?
Oh my gosh.
okay.
Alrighty. So that is the broken libs one. We're going to go to the last one, which is not written down, but I'm going to be training this because it's super important. We have a large issue with drugs in the city. I'm sure you are all aware.
Oh yeah.
Something that you'll have in your iPack is Narcan. Narcan is a little nasal spray. It's this little white little sort of looks like a triangle, almost like an X or Y wing from Star Wars. It's kind of what it looks like to me. Now, there are 3 steps to using it. First, let's talk about what an opioid overdose looks like. An opioid overdose is very unique. Well, not necessarily unique, but it's essentially their body will lose. Their body will stop essentially responding to their typical stimuli. They'll go unconscious. They'll get kind of cold. Their fingertips might turn blue. Their pupils will be very like pin needles. They might feel really cold. They might feel dizzy. Their breathing might be slow. They might be choking. So that's really important to be able to notice, okay? Narcan is a reversal agent for the for opioids. Now, let's start with, do you guys know common opioids?
Opioids.
You got this, Jules.
Common, like methamphetamine and shit.
Methamphetamine is not an opioid.
What's an opioid?
So an opioid is a pain it's a pain it's a specific configuration of chemicals that are part of all of the same family. Now, they originally derived from the opium plant, and some of them are legal. Oxycodone is one. Codeine, morphine. When I have opioids in the back of my box, it's just a specific chemical configuration.
Okay.
The issue is illicit opioids, like illicit opioids are illegal for a reason, and the reason is they have a configuration that means they can traverse the blood-brain barrier a lot easier than other opioids. So something like heroin, for example, is able to get into your brain and all of the opioid receptors in your brain, unlike morphine can, or codeine can, and morphine's one of them as well. All right.
Got it.
Okay.
So basically, it can be extremely, extremely addictive and destructive because of that sort of chemical property. All right. So heroin is a very common one you might see. It's also called dimorphine. One we had, there was metamorphine, which was pretty addictive. That was a few years ago.
Ooh.
That shit is horrible because of how it's made. It's extremely acidic to the skin. But another one that's really common in the United States, unfortunately, is fentanyl. And it only takes very, like, smaller than a penny amount. Cart fentanyl is another one, but these are all opioids that you might see someone overdosing on, all right?
And that can affect you just from contact with your skin, right?
Not fentanyl. Fentanyl, I believe, has to go in through, but if for whatever reason you have like a cut or something, then yeah. But it can fuck you up, so just be careful, all right? So naloxone, or Narcan, is a reversal agent specifically for the opioid receptors. It blocks the opioid receptors and helps ensure that the body isn't going to overdose, right? And it can stop that overdose instant.
Got it.
It is always safe. Actually, I think it's not technically. Yeah, it basically reduces the effects of an opioid.
Oh, hey, honey. We're doing first aid training.
It's always safe to use Narcan. If I took this little Narcan that we have right here and put it up my nose, I wouldn't feel anything. So even if you think they're having an opioid overdose and they're not, give it to them. And the reason for that, because it could save their life. All right. Still hit them with it. And the reason for that is it's not going to hurt if they're not on opioids. Okay. It feels like shit. And I've had it happen to me before because I've had someone inject shit into my, it's not fun. It does not feel good, but it's not going to hurt you. Right. You have people like the desomorphine, or sorry, the metamorphine shit from last 5 years ago.
Yeah, I got injected.
People would inject it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Narcan can save a life. Yeah.
I didn't realize
it
was
good. You start
like,
sweating a lot. But...
always safe. So it literally is a matter of if you even have the slightest suspicion, a whiff of a suspicion that it may be related to opioids, Narcan. Just not even a second thought.
You can it's advised that you 311 or inform us that Narcan's been deployed. It's just make sure that we're not going to give it too much.
How do I spell Narcan?
Narcan. All right. There are 3 steps to administering Narcan. All right. Lay, you lay them on their back. Spray, you spray it up their nose. Again, tilting their head back a little bit. It helps with promoting the airway to be open. And stay with the person. Make sure you're keeping track of their heart rate, breathing, any sort of symptoms. Okay. Lay, spray, stay. All right.
Got it. Now
you can save a life.
If you mentioned like they could be unconscious, cold, their pupils are like tiny, right? Dizzy, slow breathing, choking. Maybe not so much the choking aspect, but with all the other symptoms, like how quickly do you see an improvement with Narcan?
It depends on how much they've taken, but it can be really, really quick. The thing about opioid overdoses is that it happens really quick. I watched a body cam footage from another state, and the person they thought they were drunk, right? They were swerving all over the road. They were definitely high on something. The police was talking to them. They were incoherent, but they were talking. Immediately, their whole body shut down. And that officer, she saved a life that day by administering Narcan. So it takes about a minute or two, but again, it really depends how much they have in their bloodstream. Now, if you're not seeing an improvement and you know it's an opioid overdose, you can give them a second spray. Technically, it's safe to do up to 3, but speak with EMS. Try to get EMS there immediately because we can give Narcan intravenously, which can help their body a little bit quicker. So, all right,
got it.
All other overdoses, you're going to want to treat the symptoms, not the stuff. We can handle some other stuff, but if they start sweating a lot or they go into shock because of the drugs that they're on, treat the shock. Treat anything that's in their airways. But opioid overdoses can go ugly quick.
I know how to treat shock.
Well done, honey.
I know. We have to raise their legs, put something under them to keep them up. It returns the blood to their body. We might wrap them in an emergency blanket to keep them warm.
Wow.
And wait for EMS to get there.
Oh, that's it. You really taught him a lot, huh?
I know how to do a
well,
lot.
It is anything that can save a life. So the reason,
enough.
so we lobbied to ensure that you guys have Narcan in your first aid kits because that time, it needs to be so quick. But yeah.
Do you mind if I borrow my husband for a minute?
Well, this is it. Well, that's the end of it. So I'm
Oh my
happy to
gosh.
certify both of you guys in the first aid training. If you ever have any questions, need a
hell yeah.
refresher, you're always welcome to reach out to me or any medic. We can be happy to answer those for you. I will mark you guys down on our end as to have completed it. Feel free to inform your guys' command. But congratulations, you guys did great.
What was that job?
Again, if you ever have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out. All right.
All right.
Will do. Thank
Well,
you.
dude, thank you very much for offering this. Thank you for announcing it
yeah.
by a 3-on-1. When I saw that, I was like, you know what? This is the perfect opportunity because both myself and the cadet should learn this.
Yeah, so James Rue was running it, but then he recently retired from EMS, and then Minerva Matt was assisting, but she's retiring. So I'm not running it. I'm just one of the FTOs for it, but I'm more than happy to help support and train you guys.
I really do appreciate it. I've
Of
always
course. And again,
said,
please don't hesitate to reach out.
I've always said, you know, it's something I've wanted to learn, but it's not something often like advertised. And unfortunately, with how busy things are, sometimes it's a little difficult to reach out and figure out if something can be set up. Because listen, I know y'all are just as busy as we are. So I understand. And I had a conversation with Miss Banana after people got injured up at the gas station in Polito, and I was there, and I was like, I don't know. She's like, well, why don't you take a first aid class? I was like, that's genius. That's exactly what I'll do.
Well, hell yeah. Alrighty, I'm gonna get to this call
All
just came in.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Of course.
Yeah, it's really
and
appreciated. Very
congratulations to both of you
informative.
guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. I'm gonna
Thanks for this.
pick this up. Alrighty, I'm gonna get to that call.
What's up?
Come here. 2 seconds. First of all, have you seen Ziggy in the past like hour or an hour and a half?
No. I shot Ziggy in my dream last night.
Huh?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I don't know why. There was like a high risk scenario, OIS, guns being fired. I was on a rooftop, and in my dream, I'm not kidding, I went to go shoot someone, and then someone was coming up the ladder who was not a police officer, and I shot him, and it was Ziggy.
Oh my god.
And what were you saying?
Oh.
No, I haven't seen Ziggy.
Anyway, okay, his car was abandoned at Legion Square and it's all beat up and no one's heard from him, so keep your ear to the ground. When you going 42?
I'm having a conversation with a cadet, and then I'm going 42.
Okay, and then are you free to come to this D&D family meeting for
When?
an hour or so? In half an hour.
And I can try. I'll have to make my okay. Can you make it 45 minutes?
Yes.
Okay, I will do that. I'll do that.
Okay.
All right.
I'll do my best to squeeze. Okay?
All right. Appreciate it.
All right.
I'll see you there. Jules,
Yes, sir.
end of shift.
All right, sir.
Off to the car. Let's go get it
pleasure.
fixed. How much money you got in your bank account?
I got enough to fix it, sir.
Okay, good.
I think.
So we're going to talk about a few things. For starters, we're going to see if someone from Milton Motors, Milton's Mods, that's what I meant. Let's head down there. Do you know where Milton's Mods is?
No, sir.
Little Bighorn, which is the street at the rear side of Mission Row, a little to the south. That little, there's a little like corner spot that's a mechanic shop.
just up here to the right.
Well, all the way to the west. We're gonna cross the bridge. After we cross the bridge, first right-hand turn. Now, regarding feedback, there definitely is. There's quite a bit, but again, you know, this is what, first, second shift?
Yes, sir.
Is it first or second? I know you were on duty yesterday, but I don't know if that fell under
second.
academy. Okay.
That was actually, yeah, that might have been actually under academy.
Let me take a look. Let me check FTO reports and see if you have one.
Okay.
You do not. So I'm going to assume this to be your first. So yeah, we're going to pull in here to the left. I don't know if they have an ATM. We may have to grab
Get some
cash.
Do you have any idea how much it's going to cost?
No, we can speak with them, get it looked at, and listen, we're good for the money.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Now let us squeeze on past.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. Let's see here.
How are you
Arm.
all?
Good. Good. I just did my first aid training. Oh, sorry. I just did my first aid training, and so did he.
Okay.
Oh no. Someone die?
All right. No.
Why not?
What kind of question is that?
Not enough people die in this town. I'd like more to die. There's too many of us.
Yeah, can we be selective with that?
I think we can be, yes.
Okay, I vote Erwin Dundee first.
Oh, wow.
You know what? I very much back that up.
I'm sorry if that's too forward.
Looks like y'all could use one across. It'll be 1,500. Give me a moment to finish with her tow truck, and I'll be right with you.
Not a problem. We'll actually go to the ATM or bank, grab some money. We'll be right back.
All right.
Also, just a heads up, I'm not sure if you're aware, you're not exactly sounding like yourself. I don't know if anyone has told you. I would hope that if I didn't sound like myself, someone would tell me.
My sounded a
Much
There we
better,
go.
much better.
I was gonna
You're good.
say, but
Not a
I was trying to
problem.
find ways to
I say this
it.
all the time. If you want to know if you look fat in that dress, ask me. I'll tell you. I'm a real one. Yeah, I mean, the reality is you don't know what you don't know. And sometimes only other people are going to be able to know what you don't know.
True.
That's why I'm a firm believer in being a real one.
So, things to work on, sir.
So traffic
should we
stops, your positioning is good. However, the way you pull up to them is a little awkward. It's better if you, so you have kind of been pulling up to them and then reversing and then pulling out. You kind of want it to be, if possible, it's not always possible, but if possible, you kind of want it to be like a fluid motion. Essentially, you kind of pull to the far right side and then sort of swing your car out to the position it needs to be versus pulling up to them, reversing. Oh my gosh. What an asshole. Versus pulling up to them, reversing, and then pulling out into that position, or even reversing into that position is just awkward. Again.
So, sir, let me request a scar for impounder.
Yep. Mm. So in terms of positioning, like I said, your end positioning has always been relatively good. Just the, getting to that point, definitely want to improve. Just go grab the money and then we'll continue once you return. Yeah. This is going to be for Ricky Jules. We are unable to respond because this is a situation that I personally cannot see out. So we are not going to that.
Okay.
In fact, I'll announce that we're 42.
Say again, sir. Sorry.
I'm going to announce that we are 42. We're going 42.
Okay.
All right. Just code 2 over to the mechanic shop. So, I mean, obviously we've already sort of briefly discussed the lack of radio communication in the first traffic stop, which was there were priority comms happening, which you identified, so it's good you didn't say anything on radio. But you did have to be prompted to, well, I actually ended up 311ing just to sort of give you an idea of the formatting, but you know that, which is solid. The follow-up to that was the communication aspect, which we've already discussed as well. It did get better. It's not necessarily perfect, but again, improvement is all I want to see. Go ahead and pop the hood. All right, and then I'll speak to you over here.
All right, let's go ahead and body damage.
All right, so again, the social aspect of traffic stops is very important. You can actually obtain an insane amount of information, asking people where they're coming from, where they're going. You know, are they doing any sort of commercial deliveries? Obviously, if you're pulling over a grime worker, you know, it's safe to assume. But ask anyways. It may seem obvious, but who knows? Maybe the person's driving because the person whose vehicle it originally was had a medical emergency and they're just returning the car for them, right?
Yeah.
And then if they open up that avenue, you can ask, oh, well, who's your friend? You know, did they go to the hospital? Do you need me to call in and verify anything? Make sure they're okay? And a lot of times you'll get shut down. There's no denying that. But ultimately, you sort of leave... Exactly. And you leave the ball in their court, right? I operate under the basis of I'm an energy matcher, okay? And if we can sit there and engage in conversation, and you're not going to accuse me of being the scum of the earth solely because I'm a police officer, I'll likely let you off with a warning. But if I pull you over and the first thing you say is, I didn't do anything wrong. Did you clock me? What'd you clock me at? I'm not signing anything. Guess what? Suddenly, any ounce of leniency I had ever thought of giving you, gone.
It's all gone.
It's in the negative, in fact. Negative. Now, do I expect every officer to be that way? No. Oh, you are gonna have to give us cash.
Oh yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, just go hand the money, and we'll continue. Do.
SGS, if you give me just one moment, I'm just grabbing the parts for y'all's repair. All right, there we go. Thank you so much, and let me get to work getting this fixed up for y'all.
Thank you.
Do y'all need any of the information off of the electronic analysis machine for paperwork or anything?
No, we should be good. I don't think there's ever a circumstance in which the state is going to reimburse officers, so I don't think there's going to be a scenario in which it's required, where it used to be, but isn't anymore. So That's kind of where we stand for the most part. Though if someone wants it for their own personal records, it is what it is.
Alright.
All right, over here, Jules.